For decades, fans have been amazed by Wayne Carini, whose name is linked to restoring old cars. Wayne is believed to be one of the most trustworthy people in the car world because of his unmatched skill at bringing old cars back to life and the popularity of his hit TV show chasing classic cars. But what happens when people lose faith in the car restoration business? Legal issues and problems that came up out of the blue that not even an experienced professional like him was ready for. What did Wayne Carini really do? How did his businesses get involved in so many lawsuits? Wayne Carini's legal problems started with a deal for a rare 1934 Pierce Arrow coupe that seemed like any other car deal. The story began a long time before Wayne got involved. In 2010, an Australian antiques collector named Robert Richmond paid a down payment of $98,000 for the car through a friend named Gary Dixo. But instead of sending the car as planned, Gary put it on the market under his own name. This cut Richmond out of the deal and left the collector without the car he had paid for. Years later, in 2017, the Pierce Arrow showed up again when Gary, who was having money problems at the time, sold the car without telling Richmond. Wayne was asked to give an opinion on the vintage car during this deal. He put a figure on the car between $110,000 and $120,000 without knowing that it had a troubled past and a dispute over who owned it. He then bought it himself when it came up for sale. Wayne didn't know that Gary, who had given all the necessary ownership papers, had actually stolen them in order to sell the car for money. Still, court papers showed that Wayne bought the car in good faith, believing the papers to be real. When Richmond started following his car, he found that it had been sold and bought several times. This made things worse. Because he was so angry, he sued Wayne Carini, F40 Motorsports, and other people involved in the case in 2018. In the end, the case would look into both the sale and Gary's claims that he owned the Pierce Arrow coupe. This would reveal years of shady deals involving the car. Wayne's participation in the case, even though he didn't mean to, brought it a lot of attention. The Hartford Courant looked at court records and learned that the judge later decided Wayne had not done anything wrong, but he still had to help return payments to settle the case. This early part of the controversy showed how easy it is to abuse trust and paperwork in the world of restoring cars, even with someone as experienced as Wayne involved. In the end, the courts found Wayne Carini not guilty in the Pierce Arrow coupe case, but the action had a big effect on many people. The court case not only hurt Wayne's image, but it also showed flaws in the market for classic cars, where trust and proper paperwork are very important for Wayne's business, F40 Motorsports. There was a lot of uncertainty because of the debate. Clients and collectors rely on the legitimacy of every transaction, and legal fights can cast doubt on deals no matter how they end. In this case, the focus was on how deals with old cars are handled, from proving title to giving estimates. Later, Wayne talked about how important paperwork is in an interview with the Hartford Courant. He said that any dealer in this business has to believe the paperwork. It's not always possible to know a car's whole past, but the papers are proof. These words show how even experienced professionals can get caught in complicated legal issues if it's not clear who owns what. The disagreement getting a lot of attention from the media made things worse. Even though Wayne didn't mean any harm, the fact that his business was linked to ownership issues made some people wonder how carefully they checked out cars they bought. In a field where image is everything, this was especially bad. The court case didn't show that Wayne did anything wrong, but it did show one of the biggest problems in the market for restoring cars: finding a balance between love and duty. It was made clear to collectors, appraisers, and sellers alike how dangerous it is to use records that are missing or fake. The incident taught Wayne the hard way how dangerous it can be to trust people in this business. The Pierce Arrow case was more than just a pain in the neck for lawyers. It showed how fragile an industry is that depends on honesty and accurate paperwork, which Wayne Carini, who has worked in the field for decades, couldn't always confirm. The Pierce Arrow lawsuit got Wayne Carini a lot of attention from the media and court problems, but it wasn't the only problem that had to do with his business. Years before, in 2011, Wayne's business, F40 Motorsports, had another client disagreement that made people question its customer service and communication. The argument was about the sale of a 2007 Lamborghini Gallardo that was promoted with a rare and sought-after set of luxury luggage worth around $88,000. The high-end package was a big selling point for the buyer, who was said to be eager to finish the deal because they thought the luxury feature would be included. But when the customer got the car, they found that the luggage package wasn't there. This started months of back and forth trying to solve the problem. When the buyer got fed up with Wayne and his team's lack of reaction, legal action was taken. The buyer talked about their experience on the online car site Lamborghini Talk, saying that F40 Motorsports' communication was patchy and promises to fix the problem were put off for weeks. The problem was solved without going to court. The buyer got the lost luggage package and the spare key for the car through FedEx. The client was frustrated with what they saw as poor communication and customer service from a company that had become a star in the classic and luxury car market because of the long process. Even though this case didn't get as much attention as the Pierce Arrow case, it still hurt Wayne's image. Concerns were raised about how F40 Motorsports dealt with unhappy customers, and it served as a reminder to those in the auto business how important it is to be honest when advertising expensive cars. Even though Wayne stepped in to settle the argument, it showed how hard it can be to keep the trust of high-end clients, especially when problems aren't dealt with right away. It was another example of how, in the high-stakes world of luxury car sales, even deals that seem simple can become risks to your image. Wayne Carini's legal problems and lawsuits hurt more than just his business's bottom lines. They also put his reputation, which had been a big part of his job, at great risk. For someone as famous and well-liked as Wayne, being sued more than once can make collectors, clients, and fans question him, even if he is later found not guilty. Fans especially talked about how careful dealers should be when checking a car's ownership past, especially for rare and expensive cars like the Pierce Arrow case. Even though Wayne did what he did in good faith, the fact that he was involved in the debate made people doubt him. When success depends on trust and word of mouth, these kinds of public fights can last for a long time. The Lamborghini case showed that F40 Motorsports' customer service was not up to par. Buyers who were unhappy started posting about their problems in online groups and reviews, complaining about slow customer service and problems that hadn't been fixed. On a collector car website, an unnamed former client said that F40 was reliable but overworked, making small mistakes in deals with a lot at stake. This feedback didn't say anything bad about Wayne, but it did show that the company was having a hard time keeping up with the growing demands that come with being at the top of the car world. The lawsuits also got a lot of attention from the media, even though it wasn't as much as bigger scandals in the car business. This showed how competitive and risky the market for collector cars can be. Collectors will look elsewhere if they even think there might be a problem with a dealer or fixer. This can cause a chain reaction that could take years to fix. AutoWeek said in an article about legal disputes in the sale of classic cars that trust is hard to come by in a niche market where image is everything. Wayne had to deal with these problems head-on and put in place safeguards to stop future disagreements in order to keep his reputation. Some of these steps were changes to the way paperwork is done, more information for sellers, and a stronger effort to keep lines of communication open with clients. As time went on, these problems made Wayne rethink and change how F40 Motorsports did business. They also served as a warning of how closely operational mistakes can be linked to reputational risk. Unfortunately, even though these disagreements were settled, the fact that some clients still have doubts shows how important trust is for an entire business. Wayne Carini and F40 Motorsports were in a lot of trouble and were sued. This woke up Wayne and other people in the luxury car business. In the world of classic cars, where ownership histories can span decades and involve multiple transactions, legal disputes are frequent. However, Wayne's cases brought to light the weaknesses that can exist even for well-known brands. One important thing that these events have taught us is how important it is to do our due research when following procedures. According to an article in Sports Car Market by automotive lawyer John Dreas, disagreements like these show how important it is to do thorough title searches, communicate clearly between buyers and sellers, and keep all paperwork in order. Dreas was talking about problems in the industry as a whole, but Wayne's problems showed that even the most experienced professional could miss possible red flags if they only looked at the paperwork that was given to them. Moving forward, Wayne seems determined to solidify his position in the industry. He won't use the complaints as an excuse, though, he'll use them as a lesson. If anything, the problems have shown that mistakes, or what seem to be mistakes, are bound to happen even in a career marked by success and fame. People's legacies are often shaped by how they handle tough conditions.